Call the meeting to order. This is the Subcommittee on Oceans, Atmosphere, Fisheries, and Coast Guard. Today's hearing is on stemming the tide of U.S. response to tsunami-generated marine debris. We thank the witnesses for being here. Welcome. We think an important hearing on the marine debris headed to the West Coast from Japanese tragedy and its long-term implications. We welcome David M. Kennedy, Assistant Administrator of NOAA's National Ocean Service. We also welcome Rear Admiral Carrie Thomas, Director of Response Policy for the United States Coast Guard. Thank you both for being here this morning. The earthquake and tsunami which struck northern Japan just over a year ago was an unprecedented human tragedy. In minutes, it claimed thousands of lives, destroyed complete communities, and touched off the failure of nuclear power plants. The tsunami also left a legacy, which our West Coast states thousands of miles from the epicenter are dealing with now and will deal for many years to come. Marine debris is nothing new. Flotsam and jetsam has existed for centuries, made worse by proliferation of plastics which don't degrade. To some, like beachcombers who find occasional messages in the bottle, it's a delight, but to others, it's an eyesore or worse. Many now recognize marine debris as a threat to fish, marine mammals, and seabirds through death by entanglement and indigestion. The tsunami unleashed debris on an unprecedented scale. Some 5 million tons were swept out to sea. While most quickly sank, NOAA estimates 1.5 million tons of tsunami-generated debris is still afloat and being driven by winds and currents toward the west coast of North America. That there's 3 million pounds of mostly plastic trash, which will flood into our intertidal ecosystems and is already here. We've read the press reports of soccer balls found on the Middleton Island in my state, and the fishing floats and styrofoam insulation washing up on Kayak and Montague Islands. These are mostly the high windage items which float high in the water and are pushed by wind. Then there's the ghost squid boat that appeared off the southeast panhandle and was promptly sunk by the Coast Guard, and I want to thank you, Admiral, for doing that. And even the Harley Davis, which washed up in British Columbia. From Alaska to Washington, the reports of tsunami debris are coming in, including reports of containers of hazardous materials such as oil and solvents. That's not surprising when you consider the entire cities with their gas stations, garages, warehouses, stores, and industrial plants, all washed into the sea and now becoming a threat to our shores. One of my constituents, Chris Pullister of the Gulf of Alaska Keeper, has worked on marine debris issues for most of the last decade. He described the tsunami debris as a slow-motion environmental disaster that will far exceed any single pollution event to hit the west coast of North America, including the Exxon Valdez and the Santa Barbara oil spills. I'm submitting Pallister's letter for the record and one from the Juneau-based Marine Conservation Alliance Foundation, which has helped coordinate marine debris efforts in Alaska for years. Since the event, NOAA's marine debris program has closely monitored the incoming tides of debris. They have modeled drift patterns and tracked reports as they come in. I know NOAA has further plans to monitor this problem, but my constituents, to be very honest with you, are asking, with this debris already here, what's the plan? How are we going to deal with this, and how are we going to clean it up? In some cases, some think it's a little late. And now, just this summer, but over the years, this debris will be arriving to our shores. That is the purpose of today's hearing. Give the clear threat what is our national plan to stem the tide of the tsunami debris. And while I've heard the debris carries no threat of radiation since it went out to sea before the reactor's failures, I want to ask what you know about the possible threat and monitoring done to date because of its concern to many. But I want to emphasize the point before I call on the ranking member and then the Senator from Washington. We had a hearing probably 2 months, 3 months ago. This issue came up, and we were told things are, I don't want to say under control, but we are monitoring it carefully. But every time I go back to Alaska, I hear over and over and over again the large sightings, and there's photos here of some of the debris that's starting to wash up, and it's growing rapidly, and it almost seems like there's a well, let's just see what happens plan, and that's not acceptable. Especially today at 7 a.m. Alaska time, the Copper River opening will occur, which means literally 6 hours later when that incredible fish gets caught, the salmon, it will be in the Washington ports for market. It's the first fish out in the highly prized Copper River salmon. So we fear what the impact may be. So we're anxious to hear not about what you're seeing today, but what are the plans? What are the efforts aggressively to deal with this issue as it continues to move forward? Let me have the ranking member, Senator Snowe, make her comments.